Across the story, we hear a lot about the wall stopping the others from the time of the long night. We also learn that it stops most of the magic from going between north and south of the wall. Like when John was unable to feel both summer and ghosts when they were north of the wall. We know the magic in the wall is connected to the Night's Watch vows because of the Black Gate that only works when a member of the Night's Watch say part of their vows to it. And Old Nan tells Bran that he doesn't need to be scared of the others because as long as the Night's Watch stay true, they cannot pass the wall. In A Dance with Dragons, when Bowen Marsh learned that Jon is going to let Tormund and his people pass the wall, they argued about the Night's Watch vows. This argument ended when Jon reminded Marsh that their vows include protecting living men from the others, not following the king's laws or keeping his peace. In A Game of Thrones, the others sent the dead men close to the wall, but they didn't pass the wall on their own. The Night's Watch had to carry them inside. And in A Dance with Dragons, the dead men who Jon brought south with him didn't come back to life because they died next to the free folk, away from the others. Jon brought them south before the others could resurrect them. If we try to go tinfoily about why did those men didn't come back to life, we can look at the dead men in A Game of Thrones. Even though they were trying to kill the Lord Commander, they were not waiting in the Grove of Nine, where they could be found easily. And Cold Hand couldn't pass the Black Gate, while the people who died inside the Grove of Nine were not reanimated. Thus, we can assume the dead cannot get close to the weirwood trees that are tied to the Night's Watch vows. But the most important thing to remember, the magic that is stopping the others is connected to the Night's Watch vows, and it will only work as long as the Night's Watch stay true to their vows. The vows that we were told specifically by Jon are there to protect the living from the dead, and has nothing to do with the kings. We know the story of the Night's King, and how he used spells to enslave his brothers. The only spells we know about that are connected to the Watch are the spells that are stopping the others from passing the wall. If the Night's King was giving sacrifices to the others to stop them from attacking the realms of man, then if the Night's Watch killed him to please the Stark King and the king beyond the wall, they could have broken the magic in the wall. At the end of Dance, Bowen Marsh, Wick-Whittlestick, and two others tried to kill their Lord Commander, who was trying to stop the others from attacking the realms of men, to please a southern king, and stopping the Lord Commander from fighting against the people who were threatening the wall. Jon going south to kill Ramsay doesn't stand against his vows to the Night's Watch. After all, before the Starks killed the Night King, the Night's Watch had walls to protect them from both the south and the north, implying that the Night's Watch had enemies to both sides. And the fact that the Starks had to work with the Free Folk to take down the Night's Watch in the past means the walls to the south were as strong as the walls to the north. This is supported by the fact that the Night's Watch are the only people who were not allowed to have walls, even though they are not the only people who were fighting the Starks, nor were they the only people who gave human sacrifices. Even though Jon going south to kill Ramsay doesn't break his vows, the Night's Watch killing Jon, the heir to the Night's King for a southern king, does break their vows, and thus break the spells in the wall. After all, Old Nan says the only thing that is stopping the others from going south is the Night's Watch staying true. And the Night's Watch have that weird law about executing any man that break his vows. The Night's Watch now is a group of criminals, so it is not weird that they will be executed if they left the wall. But in the olden days, it was an honor to join the watch. In the past, the brothers and sons of kings would join the watch, and still they would have been executed if they broke their vows. Now, the Night's Watch doesn't execute men for going to Mosstown or almost any other crime. But when Sam opened the Black Gate, he only said a part of his vow, only the part that is about fighting the others, implying that any part of the vow that is not about fighting the others was added, most likely after the Night's King, thus breaking those part of the vow that is not about fighting the others will not affect the spells. We know that the spells in the wall will be broken, because John dreams that the dead can climb the wall without a problem. And a lot of John's dreams and visions does tell the future. From his dreams about the crypts of Winterfell, that resembles a lot the state of Winterfell in the end of Dance, and his vision about Benjen Stark's death when he was leaving the wall, to Jon's dreams where he kills Robb and declares himself to be the Lord of Winterfell. And in Jon's dreams, the dead can climb the wall. Now that we have looked at how Jon's assassination breaks the Night's Watch vows and thus breaks the spells in the wall, supported by Jon's dream about the others climbing the wall, we can take a look at the dream, where the living wildlings are working with the others, and so does Jon. Now, in the dream, Jon is fighting the dead. He is on top of the wall, killing the dead. However, none of the people who Jon kills in the dream will be climbing the wall if the others attacked. Jon is killing the people, Northmen, Night's Watch, and Free Folk alike, whose death was related to him and affected his choices in Dance. He killed a greybeard, which reminds us of the old man the Magnar of Than told him to kill, thus leading Jon to betray Ygritte and run away. He also killed a beardless boy, who is one of the boys climbing the wall with Jon. Jon knew them long enough that he really didn't want to betray them. The dead giant is a reference to the last giant. None of the giants would have been killed if Jon didn't choose to betray the Free Folk. Jon hated the giant slayer because he killed the giant, and Ygritte cried for them. Jon kills a gaunt man with filed teeth, who is the only person in the vision that it's hard to tell who he is. He killed Ygritte in the dream, and Jon's betrayal caused her death. Also, she appeared and died in Jon's life as quickly as she did in the dream. Ygritte died a hero, fighting the Night's Watch and the others to protect her people. He killed Donal Noy and Dev Dick. Both men were killed protecting the wall from the wildlings. He also killed Corin Halfhand, a man who chose to die to get Jon in a place where he can learn about the wildlings' plan and the others. All the people who Jon kills in the dream, he personally had a hand in their murder, except for Robb. Jon kills Robb and declares himself the Lord of Winterfell. Now, Jon's action had nothing to do with Robb's death. However, Jon being in Robb's life is what led Robb to marry Jane Westerling. the thing that led to his death. Now, Tywin says Robb is too honorable, like Ned. He would never take the maidenhead of a lady and not marry her, regardless of his honor. But if we ignored Tywin's opinion, Robb himself tells Catelyn he married Jane out of love. But out of love to whom? When he met Jane, he just learned about the death of Bran and Rickon, Theon's betrayal, and losing the North, which makes love the last thing that could come to his mind. And after marrying Jane, Robb becomes really frustrated that she is not pregnant, and decides to buy Jon's freedom from the Night's Watch. Robb didn't marry Jane because he loved her, but because he loved Jon, and he saw how Jon was treated because he's a bastard. On first read, this dream sounds like Jon being conflicted about letting Tormund and his people pass the wall. However, if we look closer, the wildlings are blowing their horns to attack, while the dead are marching with them. Jon is standing on top of the wall, wearing a black armor made with ice, just like the armor the others wore in the prologue of Game of Thrones, where their armor is described to change color, just like the wall. And one of the colors it changes to is black. While he's killing ghosts of Northmen, Night's Watch and Free Folk alike, after he realized he has been abandoned and betrayed by the Night's Watch. We know that this army is made of both the living and the dead, because the dead are climbing the wall, a thing the living cannot do easily, while the wildlings are blowing their horns that the dead don't need to use, while throwing fire arrows at the top of the wall, which kills the whites, so the dead will not be using them. In part 3, we will try to answer the question Qhorin Halfhand died for, which is what was Mance's plan. And we will look at will the free folk work with the others if it means they will live.